One day, Mrs. Sommers unexpectedly had $15. It felt like a lot of money to her, and when she put it in her old wallet, it made her feel important, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She thought a lot about investing her money. For a day or two, she seemed lost in thought, thinking and calculating. She didn't want to make quick decisions that she might regret later. But it was at night, when she couldn't sleep, that she saw a clear path in her mind for using the money, wisely and carefully. Janey wanted to buy new shoes that would last longer, so she decided to spend a bit more money. She also planned to get some fabric to make new shirts for the boys and Janey. She had initially thought of patching up the old ones, but now she wanted them to have new clothes. Mag would get a new dress too, as she saw some beautiful patterns at great prices in the shop windows. With the extra money, she could also buy new socks for everyone, which would save her from darning for a while. She felt excited and couldn't sleep, imagining her children looking fresh and new with their new clothes and hats. The neighbours talked about how Mrs. Sommers had experienced better days in the past, even before she became Mrs. Sommers. However, she didn't dwell on those thoughts and memories. She was too busy dealing with the present, focusing all her attention on what she needed to do now. Sometimes she worried about the future, but she realized that worrying about tomorrow is unnecessary because it never really comes. Mrs. Sommers knew the importance of bargains. She would spend a lot of time slowly moving towards things she wanted to buy that were being sold at a lower price. If necessary, she could push through the crowd to get what she needed. She had learned how to grab a product and hold on to it with persistence and determination until it was her turn to be served, no matter how long it took. On that day, she felt a bit weak and tired. She had only eaten a small lunch. No, when she thought about it, she realized that with all the tasks of feeding the children, tidying up, and getting ready to go shopping, she had completely forgotten to have any lunch at all. She found a quiet spot at a nearly empty counter and sat on a revolving stool. She needed to gather strength and courage to make her way through the crowded place, where people were excitedly looking at shirts and patterned fabric. She felt weak and tired, so she rested her hand on the counter without any specific purpose. She wasn't wearing gloves. Gradually, she noticed that her hand had touched something very soothing and pleasant. When she looked down, she saw a pile of silk stockings. A sign nearby indicated that their price had been reduced from $2.50 to $1.98. A young girl who worked there asked if she wanted to see the silk stockings. She smiled, as if she had been asked to examine a tiara made of diamonds with the possibility of buying it. She continued to feel the soft and shiny, luxurious stockings with both hands, holding them up to see their shine and enjoying the sensation as they glided through her fingers like a serpent. Her cheeks turned red with excitement. She looked at the girl and asked, "Do you have any shoes in size 8.5?" There were plenty of shoes in size 8.5. In fact, there were more of that size than any other. There were light blue ones, lavender ones, and also some all black and different shades of tan and grey. Mrs. Sommers chose a black pair and examined them carefully and for a long time. She pretended to be checking their quality, and the clerk assured her that they were excellent. She said to herself, $1.98. Then she told the girl, "I'll buy this pair." She gave the girl a $5 bill and waited for her change and the package. The package was very small, and it looked tiny inside her old and worn shopping bag. After that, Mrs. Sommers didn't go to the bargain counter. Instead, she took the elevator to an upper floor where the ladies' waiting rooms were. In a quiet corner, she changed her cotton stockings to the new silk ones she had just bought. She wasn't deeply thinking or trying to explain her actions to herself. She wasn't thinking at all. It was as if she took a break from her busy thoughts and allowed some automatic force to guide her actions, freeing her from any sense of responsibility. The raw silk felt so nice against her skin. It made her want to lean back in the comfortable chair and enjoy the luxury of it for a bit, and that's exactly what she did for a short time. Then she put her old shoes back on, rolled up the cotton stockings, and put them in her bag. After doing this, she went directly to the shoe department and sat down to get fitted for new shoes. She was very particular about her choices. The clerk couldn't understand her completely. He couldn't match her shoes with her stockings, and she wasn't easily satisfied. She held her skirts back and turned her feet one way and her head another way while looking at the polished, pointed-tipped boots. Her foot and ankle looked very pretty. It was hard for her to believe they were hers and a part of herself. She wanted the shoes to fit excellently and be stylish. She told the young man serving her about her preferences, and she didn't mind paying a bit more for them as long as she got exactly what she wanted. Mrs. Sommers hadn't been fitted with gloves in a long time. Whenever she bought a pair, they were always cheap bargains. They were so inexpensive that it wouldn't have made sense to expect them to be properly fitted to her hand. Now she placed her elbow on the cushion of the glove counter, and a pretty and pleasant young person with delicate and skillful hands pulled a long-wristed kid glove over Mrs. Sommers' hand. The young person smoothed it over her wrist and buttoned it neatly. Both of them admired the little, well-fitted gloved hand for a moment. However, there were other places where she could spend her money. A little further down the street, there was a stall with books and magazines piled up in the window. Mrs. Sommers bought 2 expensive magazines like the ones she used to read when she enjoyed other pleasant things. She didn't wrap them, she carried them in her hands. She tried her best to lift her skirts while crossing the streets. Her stockings, boots, and well-fitted gloves had made a remarkable difference in her appearance. They gave her a feeling of confidence, as if she belonged to the well-dressed crowd. She felt very hungry. Usually she would wait until she got home to satisfy her hunger, by making tea and having a snack with whatever she had available. However, the strong urge she felt now didn't allow her to consider such thoughts. There was a restaurant at the corner. She had never been inside before. From outside, she had occasionally glimpsed clean tablecloths and sparkling glasses, and she had seen well-dressed waiters serving stylish customers. When she went inside, nobody seemed surprised or alarmed, which she had worried about a little. She sat at a small table by herself, and a waiter came over to take her order. She didn't want a large meal. She just wanted a delicious and satisfying bite to eat. She asked for 6 Blue Point oysters, a juicy chop with cress, something sweet like a creme frappé, a glass of Rhine wine, and finally a small cup of black coffee. As she waited to be served, she took off her gloves slowly and placed them beside her. Then she picked up a magazine and looked through it, using the blunt edge of her knife to turn the pages. It was all very enjoyable. The tablecloths were even cleaner than they appeared from outside, and the glasses sparkled more brightly. There were calm ladies and gentlemen having lunch at the small tables like hers. Soft and pleasant music played in the background, and a gentle breeze blew through the window. She tasted a bite of her food, read a few words in the magazine, sipped the amber wine, and wiggled her toes in her silk stockings. The cost didn't matter to her. She paid the waiter and even left an extra coin on his tray. He bowed to her as if she were a princess of royal blood. She still had money in her purse, and her next temptation came in the form of a matinee poster. A little later, she entered the theatre, and the play had already started. The theatre appeared to be full, but there were some empty seats here and there. She was guided to one of those seats, sitting between elegantly dressed women who were there to pass the time, enjoy candy, and show off their flashy clothes. Many others were there solely for the play and acting. It's safe to say that no one in the audience had quite the same attitude as Mrs. Sommers towards the surroundings. She took in everything, the stage, the actors, and the audience, forming one broad impression and thoroughly enjoying the experience. She laughed at the comedy and cried at the tragic parts. She even exchanged a few words with the gaudy woman sitting next to her about the play. The gaudy woman wiped her eyes and sniffled using a dainty piece of perfumed lace, and then she offered a box of candy to little Mrs. Sommers. The play had finished, the music stopped, and the crowd started leaving. It felt like a dream coming to an end. People scattered in different directions. Mrs. Sommers went to the corner and waited for the cable car. A man sitting across from her with sharp eyes seemed interested in studying her small, pale face. He was puzzled, trying to understand what he saw there. In truth, he saw nothing specific, unless he possessed magical abilities to sense a deep wish, a strong longing that the cable car would never stop anywhere but keep going with her forever.